There is a mysterious phenomenon in which foreign tourists who go on shark-watching tour in the middle of the ocean are reported missing and have never been found to this day. Some suspect that these tourists may have fallen victim to the ferocious sharks inhabiting those waters. However, without anyone realizing it, there is another cause, something far more terrifying than that. A creature even more dangerous than the sharks themselves. That is the premise of the 2025 film Dangerous Animals.
Marla, shut up!
Set in Australia, the story begins with two tourists who were left behind after their friends had already returned to America. The young man and his girlfriend decide to continue their holiday with an extreme adventure, shark watching at close range. This extreme tour is run by a ship captain named Tucker, the owner of Shark Tour and Travel. On the way to the spot where sharks usually gather, Tucker shows them the scar from a shark bite he received when he was only 7 years old. No one knows exactly what happened back then, but one thing is certain, Tucker never stopped going out to sea and never blamed sharks for the incident.
I just can't believe you do this for a living.
It's not the shark's fault.
When they finally arrive, the young woman is visibly nervous about the experience. Tucker, however, has his own unique way of calming his customers.
Yeah. Do baby shark. Mommy shark.
Inside a sturdy iron cage, the girl and her boyfriend are lowered into the sea, surrounded by dozens of sharks swimming back and forth. At first, the girl is terrified and begs her boyfriend to stop, but after that once-in-a-lifetime experience, the couple resurfaces filled with joy. Yet, guess what happens next?
Thanks so much for fitting us in.
Welcome aboard.
That's when the truly dangerous creature appears. Still in Australia, the story shifts focus to an American tourist and surfer named Zephyr, who happens to be traveling alone. While waiting in line at a convenience store, he pays for his snacks but secretly slips a cup of instant noodles into his drink cup to steal it. Just as he's leaving, he's confronted by a local young man named Moses, who saw his petty theft. Surprisingly, Moses doesn't approach him to judge or scold him, but instead to ask for a favor. He needs help jump-starting his car battery. When they arrive at Moses' car, Zephyr notices a surfboard inside. Though initially cold, aloof, and reluctant to chat, Zephyr soon warms up to Moses. They quickly bond over their shared passion for surfing.
Zephyr.
Nice to meet you, Zephyr.
No, go start your car.
Yes, ma'am.
In less than 24 hours, the two of them grow close, develop a special relationship, and even commit to becoming a couple. After spending time together, Zephyr decides to head straight to the beach, waiting for the perfect waves to surf. While attaching the fins to his surfboard, Zephyr loses his screwdriver, forcing him to borrow one from a truck parked by the roadside.
Promise I'll bring it back.
G'day. Not quite. Tucker.
And, yes, that truck turns out to belong to none other than Tucker, the serial killer. At first, everything seems normal. Tucker simply hands over the screwdriver and drives away. But just as Zephyr is chatting with Moses, something completely unexpected happens. Namely, this is where Zephyr finds himself, handcuffed to a metal bed in the hull of Tucker's tour boat, alongside the girl who, shockingly, is still alive. Both of them are trapped there, screaming in panic like any terrified victim would. Zephyr shouts for help, and aware that no one will ever hear him. Meanwhile, back at the beach where Zephyr's car is parked, Moses arrives as planned, responding to the invitation Zephyr had sent earlier. When Moses can't reach Zephyr by phone, he begins to suspect that something is terribly wrong. Wasting no time, Moses goes to the police station to report his missing girlfriend. But when asked for Zephyr's full name and physical details, Moses can only glance around awkwardly. After all, they've only known each other for less than 24 hours.
You don't know her last name?
No, I don't.
Back on the boat, Zephyr continues screaming for help while Tucker casually sits and eats breakfast, listening to the cries. As a remorseless killer and psychopath, Tucker is used to this. It doesn't disturb him in the slightest. Instead, he calmly enjoys fishing in the open sea while his captives suffer below deck. Exhausted from shouting, Zephyr, who is tough by nature and a seasoned survivor, keeps struggling to break free from the handcuffs. But after several minutes of trying, he fails. Feeling overwhelmed and desperate, he suddenly gets an idea: to use the wire from the girl's bra as a makeshift lockpick.
Quick!
Just as he's attempting to open the handcuffs with the wire, Tucker appears with food. The weakened girl obediently accepts the meal, while Zephyr, in contrast, acts defiant and rebellious. This only fuels Tucker's twisted fascination, prompting him to draw closer and take an interest in Zephyr. After they finish eating and drinking, Tucker leaves the room to head back to the upper deck. Zephyr quickly resumes his attempt to free himself, but suddenly he feels an unbearable dizziness.
Have you got it? Zephyr.
Now, the scene shifts. Zephyr is tied to a chair, while the girl lies unconscious from the sedatives laced into their drinks. No one knows what Tucker has planned. Busy with his digital camera, Tucker announces that they're about to witness a once-in-a-lifetime performance, something Zephyr has never seen before.
Hey!
Tucker wakes the girl and ties her to a rope, then pulls a lever to hoist her above the ocean. And then... Yes, the show he had promised turns out to be a horrifying spectacle. The girl is lowered into the water as live bait for the starving sharks, and Tucker records it all for his private collection. As the girl struggles in the final moments of her life, gasping at the edge of death, Tucker stares wide-eyed in twisted satisfaction. This is exactly what he craves: the overwhelming pleasure of watching someone's last breath.
Tell me that ain't the greatest show on earth.
After the gruesome performance, Zephyr is thrown back into the holding cell. While carving his name into the wall alongside those of past victims, he suddenly notices something chilling: dozens of names already etched there. Zephyr realizes he's not the first, nor the second, but one of many tourists who have fallen prey to Tucker's madness. Meanwhile, Tucker celebrates yet another success. He takes a lock of the girl's hair and stores it with the videotape of her death. His cruelty runs deeper than expected. Neatly organized in his private collection are dozens of tapes, each one documenting the final moments of his many victims. The following night, as Zephyr rests, Tucker enters with dinner. But Zephyr refuses, knowing the drink will be drugged again. Tucker responds with a chilling monologue: "Prey must eat to stay alive, so the hunt can last longer." In this way, Tucker compares himself to a shark, fierce, powerful, and the true ruler of the sea.
Give me a I've never met anyone compare yourself to the shark. They're highly evolved.
Hearing this, Zephyr feels nothing but disgust. He boldly declares that Tucker is no shark, but a coward worth less than garbage. He only preys on women and the weak. Why don't you go after government officials instead? Would you even have the guts? Zephyr taunted. Not long after Tucker left, Zephyr noticed the bucket provided for urination and defecation. He thought of using its handle as a weapon by breaking it in two. Tucker, still haunted by Zephyr's words, decided to execute him that very night. Since the trick with the drug drink no longer worked, Tucker planned to inject the sedative directly. When he enters, Zephyr appears to be sound asleep, making it easy for Tucker to approach with the syringe. But suddenly... Yes, Tucker collapses, ambushed. Seizing the moment, Zephyr quickly grabs the handcuff key and frees himself. Just as he reaches for the gun, Tucker regains consciousness. During the desperate chase up the stairs, Zephyr slips, giving Tucker just enough time to stab him with the needle. This is the point where the audience grows frustrated watching the main character make the same mistake over and over again, failing to confirm the enemy's death and instead wasting time seeking help. Rather than barricading the doors tightly, Zephyr fumbles with a satellite phone, desperately trying to call for help but never getting a connection. Worse still, he runs outside, shouting for rescue at a distant passing ship.
Help! Help! Help!
As a result, Tucker showed up just in time to capture him again. Acting on impulse, Zephyr grabbed Tucker's beloved camera and deliberately dropped it into the water. Enraged, Tucker lost control. At that moment, Zephyr suddenly hurled himself into the sea, just as the tranquilizer began to take effect. After Zephyr was recaptured, the scene shifts to Moses, who remains curious about the whereabouts of his new girlfriend. He begins checking the beach CCTV cameras one by one, which, in this country, are accessible to ordinary civilians. Moses eventually finds footage of Zephyr's car passing by, along with Tucker's truck heading in the opposite direction. With a strong hunch about the truck owner's involvement, Moses decides to contact the tour service name displayed on the vehicle or its door. At the same time, Tucker rushes ashore, arousing suspicion from the harbor guard who notices his unusual haste. Acting as an intermediary between clients and tour operators, the guard informs Tucker about a new customer in need of his service. But Tucker, preoccupied with his own agenda, brushes him off and leaves immediately. Arriving at an electronics store, Tucker quickly buys a new digital camera to replace the one destroyed in the water. Once he has it, he heads back to the boat to prepare for that night's show, unaware that Moses is making his way toward the vessel in search of Zephyr. Without any obstacles, Moses quickly manages to find Zephyr as her screams can be heard from the ship. He immediately grabs a hook pole to force open the door leading inside. And yes, Moses finally discovers Zephyr, still shackled to the bed. She urges him to call the police at once and send for help. But then... Before he could reveal the location of the incident, Moses was discovered by Tucker, who had returned earlier. A fight broke out, with Moses gaining the upper hand over Tucker. But then... Yes, the harbor guard suddenly strikes Moses in the head, knocking him unconscious. But the moment the guard heard a woman's scream coming from the belly of the ship, that was when he made a grave mistake. After the dock guard was killed by Tucker with a hook pole, Moses could only surrender as he was locked up together with Zephyr in the belly of the ship. At the very least, Zephyr now has his lover imprisoned with him. And so, even though danger surrounds them, the two can still find fleeting comfort in each other's presence. Not long after, Tucker arrives to prepare both captives for his next show, and then in the blazing midday sun, his impatience drives him to begin immediately. Zephyr and Moses are horrified when they see the mutilated remains of the harbor guard chopped into pieces. Without warning, Tucker immediately pulls the lever to drag Moses above the ocean, so that he paused briefly when Zephyr asked to switch places, but Tucker ignored him and continued the show. When half of Moses's body was already in the water, sharks began to appear, ready to lunge at their prey. However, Zephyr managed to instruct Moses to stop moving, so that unexpectedly, the trick worked. Moses survived, and the sharks merely circled around him. Seeing the show fall short of his expectations, Tucker pulled Moses back onto the boat and stabbed him in the stomach several times, spilling fresh blood. Just as Moses is about to be lowered into the water again, a police helicopter passes overhead on routine patrol. With no other option, Tucker halts the performance rather than risk being caught. That night, Moses and Zephyr found themselves locked in the ship's hold once more. Zephyr's heart ached as she watched Moses struggle with the pain from his stab wound, inflicted just that afternoon. She knew they were running out of time. In desperation, she tried to break her own thumb to slip out of the shackles. When that didn't work, she did the unthinkable. She bent her head and bit her thumb off. At the same time, Tucker is seen preparing the tranquilizer for both of them. But just as he finishes and is about to inject it, Zephyr has already vanished from her bed. And then this time, Zephyr manages to lock the door just in time, then escapes to call for help using the satellite phone. And fortunately, since Tucker owns the ship, he already knows another way out through a small door that can be opened with a screwdriver. And so, as Zephyr struggles to reach the police, Tucker slips out and shuts off the electricity from the engine room. Realizing that Tucker is already outside, Zephyr quickly grabs the flare from the equipment box. And so, escaping for the second time, she rushes to the kitchen and tries to flee through the hatch. But then, yes, using a knife and a frying pan, Zephyr manages to knock Tucker down and escape through the main door. As Tucker climbs onto the deck and shines a spotlight on her, Zephyr is seen swimming toward the shore. Tucker immediately grabs a small boat to chase her. Tragically, Zephyr is caught and dragged back aboard. Now, he is forced to become the star of Tucker's twisted performance, while Moses, weakened and bleeding, is left to watch helplessly from the sidelines. As fate would have it, Tucker seems to receive full support from the producer when an unusual guest appears that night, a massive, rare shark, almost never seen before. As Zephyr is lowered into the water, a smaller shark arrives, the kind that usually comes for dinner. Not wanting his special performance to be ruined, Tucker tries to drive the smaller shark away with a boat hook. But in doing so, he accidentally drops the pole, and Zephyr manages to grab it. Using the pole, Zephyr tries to climb and free her ropes. But when the big shark arrives, panicking her, Zephyr begins to lose control, and
Behind you!
yes, in the water, Zephyr must swim to evade the large shark chasing her. At first, it seems ready to devour her, but the shark turns out to be gentle and rarely preys on humans. A wound on its side shows that it is an adult shark, possibly a victim of abuse by irresponsible humans. Seeing Zephyr weak and helpless, it chooses not to attack her. Having survived the large shark, Zephyr quietly climbs up the side of the boat and hides, intending to strike the unsuspecting enemy from behind with the spear gun lying unattended. She slowly picks it up, and not long after Tucker is devoured by the sharks, Zephyr has to deal with the spear gun line tangled around her right leg. And so, fortunately, Zephyr survives thanks to the creative team waiting for her in the water. This nightmare is finally over. As for Moses, he can still be saved if he is taken immediately to the nearest medical center. The end, an ending as savage as the beasts themselves. True to its title, Dangerous Animal, Tucker is the embodiment of such a beast in human form, one that may very well exist in our world, not always a ship captain or a man of the sea. Dangerous animals can also appear in charming disguises, wearing suits and ties, smelling of expensive cologne, seated in luxury chairs bought with the people's taxes, passing laws at will, dancing cheerfully while society starves. Exactly as Ali ibn Abi Talib said, the human heart is like a wild animal. Anyone who attempts to tame it will be attacked. I'm Joe, representing the board of directors. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.